folks like Peter Schiff have been saying that inflation was going to surge, the dollar was going to be worth as much as toilet paper, invoking the Weimar days or Roman coins going to zero. And it's just completely wrong. There's been very little inflation, actually less than probably we'd hoped for, and the dollar is surging to multi-year highs. Everything that the Fed haters have said has come wrong.
Peter, look, you've made statements in the past that they're well known. Joe lays it out. You agree or disagree?
Well, I disagree. I mean, first of all, it sounds very familiar to what people were saying when I was warning about the problems in the housing market for years. And people said, well, you've been saying this for years and there's no problem, so you're wrong. I wasn't wrong. I think other people just didn't understand the problem. And I do think that we've had a lot of inflation. I think the problem is that other countries are also creating inflation, so it makes it harder to see it in the exchange rate. And also, I don't think government measures such as the CPI do a good job of picking up the higher prices that consumers are paying. But if you look at how much value the dollar has lost in purchasing power, certainly if you measure it against things like gold, yes, the dollar has gained a little bit in the last year or two, but over the last decade or so, the dollar has lost a lot of value. But we haven't written the final chapter on this. You know, I still think that the Fed can't get out of jail, that all this talk about raising interest rates and ending QE is all talk, and that's what's propping up the dollar. Once the Fed has to admit that there is no recovery and it's got to go back to the drawing board with even more QE than it's ever done before, then I think you're going to see the fallout in the foreign exchange markets.
There are so many problems with that last argument. Let's take a few of them. The idea that we measure the strength of the dollar's purchasing power against gold. Who needs to go out and buy gold? It's important. Clothing, food, healthcare. Those are the things that matter. The idea is just completely arbitrary to measure it against gold. This idea,
well, it's going down against food
this inflation,
too. Have you looked at grocery bills?
This inflation truth or idea.
Food prices are going up. Energy prices are going up.
Actually, energy prices have remained quite muted. They have not gone up much over the last several years. And this inflation truth or idea that inflation is so much higher than we've stated, if that were true, we'd be having massive negative real GDP growth and unemployment would be
and we are
surging.
Why do you think the labor force is collapsing?
Growth, which is why unemployment rate continues to drop. People are finding jobs, not as fast as we would like.
That's not why the unemployment rate is dropping.
Everyone else is creating inflation. Like, look at Japan, look in Europe. They're much worse in terms of deflation. This idea that they're all inflating like crazy. There's literally just no data to bear out what you're saying. There's no data to bear that.
If the Fed is able to shrink its balance sheet, actually sell off all the mortgages and all the bonds,
and why does it need to do that?
Bring interest rates back up to something normal, if they could do that, if they could raise interest rates back to 5 or 6%, if they can sell trillions of dollars worth of treasuries, and not collapse the stock market, not collapse the bond market, not bankrupt the U.S. government, not bankrupt all the banks. If they can pull off that miracle, then I'll admit that I was wrong.
And what is the argument that they have?
As long as interest rates are at zero, as long as their balance sheet is expanding, I'm not wrong.